Hi everyone, I'm Emma, one of Shine's directors, and welcome to our Young Adult Cancer panel at Shine Connect. We've got a great group of people joining us today to talk about being a younger adult with cancer and also still living with cancer through this pandemic. And we're also joined by Ceinwen, Shine's other director.
Hi everyone, I'm Ceinwen, and we are joined, like Emma said, by a great group of people. And I think we'll just start off by introducing everyone, or getting everyone to introduce themselves. So, Michael, can I go to you?
Sure, yeah. Hi, my name's Michael. I am a 37-year-old man. Why did I just put my gender? I don't know. I live in London. I'm a +1, so my partner, Chessie, is she has a diagnosis of multiple myeloma. So she's been going through quite a lot of treatment in the last year, nearly 2 years since she was diagnosed. And yeah, other than that, I'm a social worker.
Thanks for joining us.
No worries.
And Mari, with your amazing wallpaper in the background.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's a bit.
I love it.
I hope it's not like strobing in the background. Yeah, I'm Mari. I am 38. Had to think about that there. I'm originally from Scotland, but I live in Manchester now, and I am living and have been living with stage 4 bowel cancer since 2015. So long time of lots of different treatments, little bits of remission in between, and back on treatment currently during this awful pandemic.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Mari.
Yeah.
And then we've got Af, who is Af. You're in Bournemouth, aren't you?
I am, yeah. So I'm Aflac, Af for short. I'm down on the sunny south coast of England in Bournemouth, and the sun is shining today, so it's always good to see that. I'm 38 years old. I'm a dance teacher in a secondary school, and it's been a whirlwind couple of months. I'm quite early on. My diagnosis was on what was called Freedom Day for everyone else, but it was my diagnosis day back in July of this year. Since then, it's been quite a whirlwind. I have started treatment, so I'm in active treatment at the moment, and that is ongoing for another 8 weeks, I believe. But yeah, it's just been taking the support that's there, looking for the support, and just using the knowledge that has been given to me through medical professionals, through other people that unfortunately have been, given the same diagnosis. And I've got to say, my diagnosis is triple negative breast cancer.
There's a noise. Oh, that's Af. Af, I've just muted you. Or maybe it was someone else. I don't know. Let's see how we go. I'm going to go. We've got one more person to introduce. So, Elle, welcome.
Hi, I'm Elle, or Eleanor, and I'm 22. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma last year, in June last year, and I went through 6 months of chemotherapy, and then I went into remission officially in January this year. And I'm also in Bournemouth, so hi.
We should have got you two together. I didn't realize. To be recording it together. Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is our 6th year of doing Shine Connect. Obviously, when we used to do it in person. Last year we did it online for the first time, and this is the 2nd time that we've done it online because we just felt like it was a bit uncertain to try to book an in-person event in. And actually, I think we probably made the right decision there, especially given that everyone we work with is immunocompromised in some way. But I guess that kind of leads on to the first topic we wanted to cover, which is, a lot of people, I guess, have the impression that we've had Freedom Day and that things are back to normal, but actually for a lot of us, things aren't back to normal. So I'm just wondering, maybe Af, if we can go to you, because you talked about, you were diagnosed on Freedom Day, and what it's been like then to kind of, I guess maybe you've been looking forward to having a bit more freedom and then actually have to go into treatment.
Yeah, sorry, I just had to unmute myself. Yeah, so obviously pre-diagnosis, you know, things were starting to relax, and restrictions were obviously being lifted. And I was obviously, you know, planning lots of things to do with friends and family. As I'm a school teacher, that it was kind of leading into the summer holidays. And then obviously I get my diagnosis and it just flips my whole world upside down. I then have to be super mindful that I'm now classed in the vulnerable category, even though I felt well. And as I described it to people when I was informing them of my diagnosis, it felt like I was living two different lives. Like there was the AF pre-diagnosis, and then there was the AF with the diagnosis of cancer, kind of just being, you know, given a pack of information and then left for what felt like forever, but it was a month from my diagnosis day to my first lot of treatment. So in that time, I kind of was just trying to be normal, but knew I had this big thing that I would have to go through. So it was a lot of talking with my friends, my family, just trying to start to process it. And any questions that I had, I was writing them down, and asking the medical team just via email or phone calls, because what I didn't want to do was just get into my own head and start spiraling into quite a dark place. Yeah. Naturally, I'm quite a positive, upbeat person, and I feel like I've got quite a strong emotional maturity. So with that, I was, you know, making sure I was talking about it, because I felt if I didn't, then I could find myself, you know, struggling mentally. Physically, I felt well, which was again quite a distracting thing for me, because I was also having to be mindful that my body was going to go through a lot when it comes to the treatment. So yeah, a lot of thinking I now have to isolate. I then had a friend who tested positive for COVID, and it was like my last hurrah. I went out, I had, you know, a nice meal with my friends. I'd just done a dance festival for the whole weekend, and then the next day my friend got that diagnosis, so I had to isolate, which actually prevented my treatment from starting for 5 days. So yeah, I then went from isolating into my treatment, and since then, obviously, I'm having to be quite mindful to isolate. It's weekly treatment, so it's quite intense. I have a day where I have to go to the hospital to have my bloods done. I then have a day where I have to go and get PCR tests weekly, and then obviously my treatment day where I'm spending a few hours in the hospital getting my chemotherapy treatment. So it is quite intense.
Yeah, no, really intense. And Elle, I guess for you were diagnosed in 2020. So I guess the whole world, well, all of the UK was isolating then, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and
I had like a similar thing, because I remember the day that we could start meeting with people socially distanced, like with 6 people. I met up with my friends, I think it was the 1st of June, and that's when I told my friends that I'd found a lump. Then after that, on the 18th of June, I got my diagnosis. So things were starting to open up when I was diagnosed too. Obviously, it wasn't the freedom day, but things were starting to open up. And I remember like my friends having a really great summer, and I was neutropenic most of the time, so I couldn't go out really, and I didn't have the energy anyway. But yeah, and then I went into remission in the 3rd lockdown in January, so I couldn't celebrate that. And yeah, so it was like it just put a dampener on everything. But yeah, I had to do everything alone. Couldn't really have people come to the hospital with me. I had to have COVID tests the same. Like nurses had to spend minimal amount of time with me. Everyone wore masks. I remember, I think it was like halfway through my treatment, I went outside into the hospital courtyard with my teenage nurse, and he pulled his mask down, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is my first time seeing your face. That was not what I expected it to look like. And it was just one of those weird moments. I was like, that's so not normal that I haven't seen your face, and I've been seeing you like every week for the past 4 months.
Yeah. And actually, you know what, you're not the first person that said that. I remember somebody else I was speaking to who also had breast cancer was saying, like, it's really weird that she'd had, you know, parts of her body removed by people she'd never seen the faces of, right?
Yeah.
Like you go through all of these really intense things and you're never actually getting the whole picture. I mean, even with all of this, I always think when we can all meet again at some point, like, I have no idea how tall anyone is anymore, right? We only ever see them from here. So, Mari, what about for you? Because you were in remission and then you were re-diagnosed, weren't you? Was that in 2020 as well?
Yeah, it was in December 2020. So at that time, I think everything had been opened up during the summer, and then it had all the rates had rocketed, and by the December we were all getting like shut down again, really. They had those few days around Christmas where we were allowed to like mingle, but apart from that, it was really quite restricted again at that time when I was diagnosed with my recurrence. It was tough for a few reasons. Like obviously, like, having been in remission and thinking things were going well, and I'd been in remission for 2 years at that point, and I was just about to go into like yearly surveillance, and it was like my final scan before doing that it was detected. So it was like a really hard blow, considering I'd been going through everything since 2015 and had more than 70 cycles of chemo and 4 operations, and you know, it was just really mentally tough. But then having not been able to like have the support of like lots of people, like my friends and stuff, I still had, luckily, I've got a great husband and I've got a really close family who live like nearby, and we kind of live together. Either they live here or we go and live with them. So we kind of live together either in one house or another. So still able to see my immediate family. But I'm a very social person, and I'm used to having like lots of friends around and going places and doing things. And all of a sudden that was like, you know, all removed. The vaccine wasn't available at that time. And it was just really an anxious time, both from the disease point of view, really upsetting and worrying, but also from COVID point of view, you suddenly became aware of like how vulnerable you were, really. So yeah, and it was difficult to have that difficult diagnosis without having as much support as I used to have, or being able to do things to distract myself in a way, like, oh, I'll go out for a nice day out, or I'll go for a lunch, or I'll go for a spa, or I'll go for do something to like take my mind off it. But there was none of that. It was just like, okay, just stay in your house, don't go anywhere, don't do anything, and then into treatment. So it was difficult.
And you're still in treatment now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So how are you finding that balance of kind of like going out, but
yeah, I think I feel a little bit better now, obviously, because I've been double jabbed, which gives me some reassurance. Although, and I'm waiting on a booster or third dose now as well. I've been contacted to say I'm going to get that as well, which is reassurance. I found that I need to have a balance, definitely need to have a balance between being careful and protecting myself from COVID, but equally knowing that, you know, I do have a very serious illness and nobody's time is guaranteed. And perhaps we should all, you know, you need to live some kind of a life. Otherwise, there's no point in going through all this treatment to just hide myself away in a house and not see anybody and not do anything. So I have to find some kind of a balance. So we now have started doing things and going places like little UK breaks, just me and my husband, and we're much more selective and careful about the things that we would do. I would never go into a crowded bar with a load of strangers, for instance. But we would now go on a little break and get like a house, maybe like rent a house so that it's just us and we keep ourselves to ourselves rather than going into a big crowded hotel. So we're just much more selective. And in terms of like my friends, I do still see them a lot less. I do a lot virtually. It's not the same. But I have started meeting up with them in the summertime. We did a lot of like sort of meeting outdoors in the garden, having little picnics and stuff in the garden. It's going to be a bit more difficult coming into winter now. But I think things have improved a lot with like the lateral flows being available, and all my friends are very good and very aware that I'm ill and vulnerable. So they often volunteer like, oh, I'm going to come round on this day if that's okay. They always tell me, I've got no coughs, colds, bugs, nothing. I'm completely healthy and I've done a lateral flow and it's negative. So is it okay if I come round? I'm like, yes, it's okay if you come round. And they are like super careful. And when they come round, we tend still not to like have close contact, like hugging and stuff. We just from a across the room kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But at least I can still see them, and it helps me maintain some kind of mental sanity because it was I struggle with depression and anxiety anyway, and I think it is important to kind of do stuff that makes life happy, because there's a lot of disruption in your life with treatments and feeling ill and side effects, and you could very easily get in a very dark, low place without doing things that keep you positive and happy. So I have to kind of find that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, thanks, Mari. And thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's a really important point, right? You are not the only one that suffers with anxiety and depression. And I think having a cancer diagnosis can bring that up for a lot of people, let alone having a cancer diagnosis in a pandemic. So it's been a really tough time for people. And Michael, obviously you don't have cancer, but it's your partner that does. So how has that felt for you, like trying to find the balance between, living a life and keeping Chessie safe? And are you lateral flowing? Are you,
that's a good question. It's really screwed with our plans, to be honest. I mean, there's lots of things to say there. I suppose the reality is that you have to limit your life as pretty much as Chessie, although not as much as her, but because obviously we live in close quarters, we sleep in the same bed, any infection that I might pick up might easily be passed on to Chessie. And Chessie's been on Chessie's standard treatment for multiple myeloma is stem cell transplant, so she's had actually 2 of those in the last year, and that's within a pandemic is not an ideal scenario, because you're certainly on after this second allogeneic transplant she's on immunosuppressants, and she will be until quite late into the first half of next year, so probably till like May at the current schedule. So that means that even though she's had 2 vaccines and will get her 3rd dose, and I will also I've had 3 in fact, because I'm a social worker, so I'm vaccinated to the gills, but even so, you have to you just have to be very wary that effectively it's very unlikely that she's got much of a response against it, or we don't know, and it's not really worth the risk. I mean, it's interesting that the pandemic was really messed up the timetable, so delayed treatment, the initial stem cell transplant by 3 and a bit months at least. And it's interesting, like what both Elle and Mary were saying about you want to have a balance, you want to live your life. Myeloma is not curable currently, so you always have a kind of thought in the back of your mind, it's like, well, we're going to try and use the time that you have most effectively to do stuff. So we kind of planned last year, for example, we thought roughly it should be done with should be done with her first set of treatment and be able to maybe go away in the summer. Obviously that didn't happen because you couldn't go away abroad or anything like that. And then similarly this year we thought, we kind of planned, all right, well, next year we'll be able to go away in the summer. I mean, we have been away, but it's been, you know, in the UK, but like Mary was saying, and that's been great. Like, don't get me wrong, we've had some really nice holidays, but I suppose it's just, yeah, the sort of limitations have been ongoing and will be ongoing. You know, Freedom Day actually was worse for us. Like I and Chessie had to slightly increase our level of protection just because everyone else, like, going to work when there was social distancing and everyone understood that there was social distancing was a lot less risky than going to work when everyone thinks it's fine to do whatever you like, basically. And like, even now, like, you know, we do take risks, and I suppose we should acknowledge that. You know, I will go into a pub and order a drink to take away. You know, I'll be wearing a mask. I did this yesterday, for example. Yesterday evening, we went for a walk and I went and got us a drink. But like, it does feel risky when everyone else in the pub isn't wearing any sort of mask and there's no social distancing. And I guess from a point of view of a, you know, a +1, like, it's just the same. I've seen my friends a lot less, and I do get the sense that they've sort of forgotten a bit that, you know, I still can't do things indoors. Like, I can't, you know, if you invite me, it's nice you invite me to go there, but I can't come around. I can't go indoors, not even with a lateral flow, because I can't lateral flow everyone else in the building. And it's just not worth the risk. You know, I suppose the nightmare scenario is that I give Chessie something, particularly COVID, but, you know, quite a few other things, you know, flu would be pretty terrible as well. The final thing I'd say is that we both have had COVID. So we both got it very early on. We got it in March last year. And to a certain extent, that led us into a slight feeling of, you know, invincibility over the pandemic. I mean, we still were limited because everyone else was limited, but we were like, oh, it's fine. You know, we've both had it. And this was before she'd had a second transplant. So we thought, well, she's probably got some level of immunity. But yeah, so as everyone else has kind of got more comfortable with things, we've definitely become less comfortable. And I guess now we're looking at going into winter, where at least she won't be in hospital over Christmas, which is what she was last time. But, you know, still having to kind of be fairly wary about things.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting, I don't know, balance isn't the right word, but like the impact, right, that Freedom Day had on people who are immunocompromised actually is that it limited freedom. And like, you know, at Shine, all of us have had a cancer diagnosis. I have an immune deficiency. And so, yeah, I'm very much in the same boat. And I feel like, yeah, we're all kind of outside people now, right? We do stuff outside because inside isn't safe. And that's okay if the weather's good in the summer, but yeah, going into another long winter, like, you know, I've got the fire pit and the gazebo and the blankets, but even still, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, another winter outside is, my birthday's in December. I'd love to have a party inside.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's really interesting that, isn't it? Because I think I personally had started doing a little bit more before Freedom Day. So I'd gone to a shop where I hadn't done that through the whole of the first kind of suite of lockdowns, because everyone was wearing a mask and everyone was social distancing. And at the time, the case numbers were quite low here in Dorset. And then, you know, as soon as Freedom Day happens and you start seeing, you know, groups of people in the pub and people's social media photos of them all hugging in the pub, you know, the selfies. And you know, I just looked at that and thought, oh, that's not for me still. You know, I think it is about a balance, isn't it? And I think, you know, a few of you have touched on kind of mental health. And I think, you know, a cancer diagnosis at any time obviously impacts on our mental health and, you know, causes anxieties and depression and all of those things. So I think, I mean, what might be quite useful to talk about is just if we've found ways of kind of coping with that through the pandemic. So what things have we done that has worked to maybe boost our mental health or support ourselves, make ourselves feel a bit better? I don't know who wants to kick off with that. Shall we start with Elle? I think you look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think there was like a few things that really helped with me during like the depths of lockdown. I obviously, someone mentioned it earlier, like a lot of FaceTiming friends and making it like a regular thing. So we know that like on a Tuesday night we FaceTime, and that's just set in. And it's really nice because actually, like, I'm talking to some of my friends more than I ever had before, because you've booked it in. So it's never like oh, I'm busy, sorry, I can't, or like it's never trying to match up schedules. But yeah, so that's been really, really nice actually. One of my friends, we started a little book club together. That was really nice. So we still do that over Zoom. And yeah, like you said, Karen, when my parents got me a gazebo and an outdoor heater so that my friends could come around outside, and we had blankets and stuff, and that really helped. Like, we didn't do it that often, but it was just some sort of sense of normality. Like, in a way, it was like, this feels kind of weird because my friends are visiting me. So it was like, am I a patient? But in another way, it was like, oh no, it's just chatting to someone face to face is so much nicer. And then I carried on with uni, my final year of uni, whilst I was still going through treatment. And I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do that had COVID not been around, because otherwise nothing would have been put online. So all of my lectures and seminars have been put online. And that sense of normality was really nice as well, because it was a really welcome distraction. Like, it was hard work, but just to see my course mates, and a lot of my lecturers are very like just chatty and stuff. So they're quite casual Zoom calls, and that was just, yeah, it really gave me like that sense of, oh yeah, this is just normal life now, and you just kind of forget about it for a moment, forget about the cancer and all of that. So yeah, those were the things that really helped me. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's funny how obviously we've all learned how to use Zoom a bit more than we did before, and to use kind of different things. I know there was, at the start of lockdown, there was like a surge in the kind of party apps where you can play games with each other and stuff on the phone. So I think we've gone through like trying all sorts of different things like that, haven't we? But there is something different about being able to see people face to face, isn't it? Even if it's in a freezing cold garden. But yeah. Excellent. How about you, Mari? What kind of things have you done that have helped?
Yeah, for me, I think one thing that's really helped me was mindfulness. There's some apps that I use for that, and just being like in the present, like really grounding myself in like today and what's good in this day, or what's good in this moment, this right now, because right now is all you actually have. Like, no one knows what's going to happen to them in an hour, in a week, in a month. So why worry about it, in a way, So your mind tends to do that naturally, like flow into the future and the what ifs and the worries about tomorrow or next week. But that stops you from enjoying today, in a way, worrying about stuff that may or may not happen tomorrow. So I've learned to try and just be mindful, use those apps, do a bit of like, meditation-y type things to just like bring my mind to now, and gratitude as well, like trying to focus on all the good stuff that's happening, because there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of good people around me. And just like do a little mental checklist of like, okay, today, I've got this illness. However, I've got, all my limbs, I've got all my senses, I can see, I can smell, I've got good food, I've got a roof over my head, I've got a lovely garden, I've got a brilliant husband, I've got great family, I've got love, I've got, and that is a lot of good stuff. And so today is not really a bad day. So, I've got some challenges, but who in the world doesn't have challenges? If they're healthy, they might have challenges in other ways that I don't have. So, you just got to be grateful for what you do have, and that helps me focusing on the stuff that I do have and that I can do. It helps keep me positive and happy, rather than focusing on stuff that I can't do or that this illness is limiting me from. I just focus on all the good stuff. And be mindful and enjoy. And also hobbies. I've picked up a lot of new hobbies. And again, that's just like, I think if I'm doing something, my brain can't physically, although we all like to say we're good multitaskers as women, in our reality, if your brain is like truly focused on doing some artwork or doing something really intricate, like I do a lot of like porcelain work, I do a lot of like drawings and paintings and diamond painting and all sorts of things I've taken up. And I find that while I'm doing that, my mind's so in that it can't possibly be thinking about anything else, cancer, COVID, anything. It all just goes.
Yeah.
Seeing people.
You got a lockdown puppy too, didn't you?
Yes, I was just going to say, yeah, I got a puppy as well. I know Michael and Jessie have got a puppy as well, or a dog. But yeah, we like we share a dog. We kind of like, yeah, it's a sausage dog, and he's so cute and loving and adorable, and we just love him. And we have him like for about 3 or 4 days a week, and then there's another lady that has him 3 or 4 days a week. So we kind of co-own him. Yeah, which is
I didn't realize you co-owned him. That's cool.
Because it gives us like the pleasure of having him, and we love having him. And he's like, honestly, it's like a therapy dog. You know, people have these therapy dogs. He really is like a therapy dog. He just gives me so much happiness. Gives me, again, focuses my mind just on looking after him, taking him for walks, and I have to do stuff for him. So it like just, my mind just goes on him then. And he just gives me so much love and attention and company when my husband's not at home and I'm on my own. He's there. He's like a little buddy, a little friend. So yeah, he keeps me really happy. I think animals and people, having your family and friends and stuff, really helps to keep you positive as well. But yeah, it works out great, the co-sharing thing, because we have him. We have all the positives of having him. But then we also can still, like, if we want to, go away on a UK break or something. He's with her then, and we're not worried about him. So, and she likes having him the same. She's a busy nurse, so she likes to have him on a few days of the week, and then she's busy working or whatever. So she knows that he's with us, and it just works really, really, really well. So yeah, that was a great thing to do in lockdown.
That sounds like a great distraction, I think. And you know, the stuff you're saying about hobbies and the mindfulness apps and things, there is like so much more has kind of seems to have been created through lockdown and through the pandemic, that there's more kind of free resources, there are more groups, aren't there? And I think a lot of people took up kind of like craft activities and stuff, and then you can join groups with that as well, can't you? So you know, there are ways to kind of keep busy, I suppose, and focused on other things that maybe aren't the same as we did pre-pandemic, you know, when it was a bit easier to just, you know, go for a coffee with a friend or something. Now we can do other things instead. But yeah, I'm a definite advocate for dogs. So I've got 2, and so I get double therapy.
So many people after we got Angus, all my friends, it's like contagious. They're all getting them. Everybody's getting dogs now because they see how happy I am, and like oh, we need to get a dog too. So like there's been a pandemic of dog buying around this area all of a sudden.
Excellent. We'll see. Shall we follow on with the dog and go to Michael then? Sorry. I
was just going to say, joining the Shine also, like I'd gone through treatment since 2015 and hadn't ever like joined a support group, because I always had it in my mind that like I don't need support, I don't need, you know, like very I don't know, resistant for some reason to doing that. But when the recurrence happened, and it was just a really big blow for me, and I did feel like I just need something else. I just reached out and came on Shine, and it was like the best thing I ever did. I should have done it in 2015, because it's just different to speak to people that are in similar situations and just like get it, and you can just like vent without any, you know, in an environment that's welcoming to that. And so that really did help me as well, like connecting with other people in a similar situation, which is difficult to do when you go to a hospital and stuff. there's a lot of people that aren't really in your age group or have the same sort of concerns as you might do about certain things, job, fertility, appearance, you know. So it's just nice to connect with similar individuals, really. So I think that has helped as well.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks, Mari. I think, we hear it a lot because that people say, people that maybe wait a while to connect with us or to join any of our groups or programs that say, God, why didn't I do this when I was first diagnosed? Or why didn't I do this like last year or the year before? And it is one of those things. I think what you said is quite normal. Quite often people will be like, well, I don't want to join a support group because I'm going to be, sitting in a circle moaning about stuff. And, that's not what I want. And it's quite difficult to describe, to explain that that's not what we're about, really. And that, that what you say about connecting with other people and, that just kind of get where you're coming from. And we try and have a laugh as well, don't we, with these things? So, although you put that on a flyer and it just sounds a little bit odd. So anyway, but that's great. Thanks, Mari. Sorry, I interrupted you earlier, but I was gonna, as we were talking about dogs, I was gonna go to Michael and see. I'm assuming that you're gonna say your dog was a positive for you guys through.
Well, I would, except we only just got him the other day, so I can't really claim that he has helped us out. But I think I agree with quite a lot of what Mari just said, to be honest. I think, number one, Chessie is way better at dealing with pretty much everything than I am, including her own cancer diagnosis and her own mental health. She's much better at recognizing that she maybe not be feeling very good and communicating that, whereas I am definitely of the ilk that will just pretend everything's fine and won't really stare anything in the face. And so she got diagnosed in 2019, so it's been a while now. And I think pretty much for a long period of time, I just think that my mindset was like, well, we'll just get through the treatment and it will go away. And the reality is that's just not true. Like even with other forms of cancers that are curable, I don't think that's true. But with myeloma, it's never really going to go away, in the sense that even if we have a very, very long period of remission that, stretches out indefinitely, it's still something that's going to be in the background and you have to consider it. So that was an unrealistic way of trying to deal with things. And I think one of the best things I did then, therefore, is first of all, started learning about, recognizing that I was feeling sad, and probably also realizing that was okay, and that, you can just sit with feeling unhappy, and, things do pass. Like, I can't tell you how much I've learned about, just, the worst thing in the world happening to you. And then, eventually your mind moves on. Like I couldn't imagine that before this diagnosis. So, but I would say, joining Shine was was definitely, like, I'm joking, but it was really, really good. Like, I definitely didn't want to go to a support group, if I'm honest. And I kind of only joined because I think Chessie had been and she said it was good. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. A bit like how, I'll do a workout because she says I should do it. Like, yeah, all right. But joining Shine, I think, was really good, because I didn't want to do it because I think you don't want to face things head on. Like, I don't want to admit that Chessie's got a horrible diagnosis that I don't, want her to have. So going to a support group kind of confirms all of the things I don't want to be true. But going to support group was great because I met Baba, so Mari's husband, for example. I met lots of lovely people. And to be honest, what was the most helpful is just seeing other people in different stages of their lives than you, like seeing people who are more upset than you, seeing people who are much sort of more stable than you are, and realizing that, like, you're going to be all of those things at certain different points through. I'm not going to use the word journey because everyone hates that word, but, like, through having cancer, basically, or through being +1 of having cancer, like it runs the gamut, a bit like everything else. It's life, but condensed into a really extreme set of emotions. So just having a moan with people and not having to explain what is shit about cancer, because you think you know what's bad about it, but then you actually realize what's bad about it, which is, I think, very different. Like, I think the life limiting aspects of it are terrible, but the practicalities and the grind, the cancer grind, and the admin and the isolation and stuff like that. So yeah, joining Shine, getting to chat, and then more practical things. Like, I really do need to go for a run 3 times a week, otherwise I'm just not very nice. And you know, just simple things that you can do. And like Mary was saying, like trying to do things like mindfulness, like things I would never have considered doing, if I'm honest, before. But just trying to focus on what you enjoy, like getting outside, seeing nature, going for walks. All, you know, you can tell I'm approaching 40. It's like all of these sort of boring things, but they're great. So I think, yeah, becoming more self-reflective, I think, has been very important. And that's, you know, that's good things come out of being around cancer, and I think that is one of them.
Yeah. And it was great to have you on the Plus Ones program, Michael. Thanks. I think it, and the things that you say about, you know, similar to Mari, about not, you know, sometimes it's healthy to like avoid certain things and to not want to kind of dwell on negatives. But obviously, you know, at some point it's still in the back of your brain somewhere, isn't it? So having a space to kind of safely deal with it and then move away from it again can be really useful. So yeah, thanks for that. So Af, I know you're obviously quite early, and I'm going to use the journey word now, Michael, you've like started it. But you're obviously early in your experience, but have you been able to find things that have kind of helped you to you know, to kind of deal with the situation we're in while dealing with treatment and everything?
Yeah, so for me, pre-diagnosis, I was still working throughout the whole pandemic. Being a secondary school teacher, we still had, you know, even though there was a lockdown, we still had key worker students in school, the vulnerable students in school. So there was a rota of staff like working in the school. And then we also had to teach online, which was very interesting, to teach a practical subject online. I definitely learned how to choreograph in a very small space. So yeah, so for me, it was quite a transition from being really, really active and working full time to now not working full time and being less active, because obviously the further I get in with my treatment, the more that the chemo fatigue sets in. So for me, it's been quite similar to what Mary and Michael have said, is the mindfulness. So I meditate every morning, and most days I'll do some yoga as well. So yoga is something that I've done to help myself, because I've got quite a busy kind of stressful job. Because not only am I a dance teacher, I'm also part of the safeguarding team as well. So that can bring a lot of stress and strain and like pressure, dealing with those scenarios with the young people that I work with. So for me, I was always trying to develop self-care. Part of that was me getting into meditating and yoga to kind of settle myself and just have that time to unwind and switch off from the days that you've just had. So I still do that now. I'm dancing less, but everything I love about dancing, so I'm still watching it. Like at the moment, watching Strictly is amazing. I absolutely love that. So I'm living vicariously through my friends. So my friend runs a dance class, but during the pandemic, we've like Emma, you mentioned, House Party was an app that we used to connect on, and play games and have conversations. Not so much now, but still on Zoom. And I still actually go to work 1 day a week, which gives me a bit of normal. And I see my colleagues, my friends, and seeing the students as well. Dance is my passion, and it's something that keeps my mindset positive as well. So I have still been doing some online classes, but they're short bursts. Like my friend, she's been really lovely. She's loaned me her login details for a dance program online. So I'm using that because I'm actually doing a 30 activity challenge. So I've just been part of the Shine Breakout program. And for me, when I got my diagnosis, I just felt like I was left out in the ether. And I was dealing with this heavy piece of information that I've just been given. And I didn't want to feel alone. So I reached out straight away. And in the pack that I got from the hospital, there was a leaflet for Shine. And I thought, this is something that I feel like I need. So I reached out straight away. And I'm glad I did, because I've just felt that it's really helped me not to feel so alone. And the program has helped me to connect with, like everyone else has said, connect with people that just get it. Like my friends and family have been amazing, but to be with people that just get it, that you can talk through your fears, you can talk through if you're feeling anxious, you can talk through the transition of being, you know, the old you into the new you, because it's a quite a big thing that you're going through. So for me, that was invaluable to have that as part of the Shine Breakout program. And, you know, continuing my journey, I'm always going to be connected with Shine now. Obviously being, you know, asked to do this has been amazing, because for me, talking about my diagnosis and what I'm going through is cathartic for me. So yeah, I really do feel like, you know, that's something that will help me along the experience that I'm going through.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Af. And I mean, it was great to have you on the program. It's great to have you do, you know, your 30 activities to raise money for Shine. But I think you're right. There is something cathartic actually about talking about it, because I think if you keep it all inside, actually it doesn't have anywhere to go, and that, you know, but you still have to live with it. It doesn't change the situation, but connecting with people and just sharing experiences and having a laugh or having a moan, whatever, you know, together, I think is really powerful. And actually that's one of the things with Shine that we've just always wanted to do, was connect people. And we've been really lucky to have all 4 of you in our programs over the last, I guess, year. And it's weird to think that actually, you know, in March 2020, we'd never done an online program, and now we've had dozens and dozens of people come through them. So, and met loads of people from all over the country, which has been great. But I can't believe it. I always worry that we're not going to have enough to say, and that we'll have too much time, but we've run out of time. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I think it's always a really good start to Shine Connect to just hear the experiences of people that we've connected with over the last little while, and get people to kind of be real about how they're feeling and how they cope, because we don't hear enough of that, I don't think. But if you are available after this, please join us on the live Zoom link, because these guys will be joining and you'll have a chance to chat with them a little bit more. We have lots of other great sessions for you as part of Shine Connect, so we will see you there. And thanks for joining us for the first session.